Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Our Life Beginnings and Always. And let's see about where we are. Okay, we left off doing the talks moment. We had to do two moments yesterday. We did errands, and then later yesterday we did talks. So we are now on the drive moment. And in case you're wondering why these are all open, the DLCs, that's because they have not yet released these moment DLCs yet. They're still working on them, from what I know. It said that they'll probably be out sometime this month, but who knows? I mean, it's still a guessing game. I mean, you never know when exactly they're gonna be out for sure. So it's just a wait and see what happens. Also, the Step 4 also going to be out sometime this year, and they'll have some DLCs for that. From what I found out, that because Cove is moving into his own apartment, we actually get to move in with Cove into his place. And being that we have a part-time job, our character has a part-time job and is going to go to college part-time as well. I mean, why not? This will help him save money, help my character save money in the long run. We'll show. We're going to share the expenses, obviously. We're not going to be able to afford it on our own right away, because part-time job, all that, college to worry about. So, and then there's also going to be the DLCs. The DLCs that are going to be released for the Baxter moments and Derek moments and Baxter moments, so that you get to romance them as well in the Step 4. It'll come around the same time as Step 4. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but we'll see how that's going to work out. But anyway, let's get started with the drive moment. And I'm going to grab my keyboard and get relaxed here. I got my water and I'm ready to go pretty much. Except for I forgot to put my sign up. Where's that thingy? Oh, there it is. Okay. Alright. There we go. Tape on there. water here. The day was warm and pleasant, and you were lounging on the couch in the living room, finding it difficult to do much in that moment. Your moms and Liz had gone out shopping, looking for some new items for your sister to take back and decorate her college dorm with. Oh man, choke in my eyes. Alright, that's good. Okay, there we go. They had asked you if you wanted to go with them, but you declined. For you today was all about relaxation. Cove had dropped by to spend some time with you, content to join in with you doing nothing. The two of you had been chatting idly as you lazed around, talking about the other things you had planned for the summer. Let's see. Yeah, like the last one. You were cuddling on the couch. Cute, nice. He had an arm loosely slung around your shoulders, and his head dropped down against you. While you nestled against his side, enjoying the comfort of his company. The day dragged on, and you found yourself yawning more and more often between conversations. You had almost dozed off completely when suddenly a buzz rang out, disturbing the silence. Your phone was on its charger in the kitchen, so it couldn't have been that. Cole pulled his own phone from his back pocket and checked the screen. His movement had jolted you, so you tried to readjust your position to get it right again.
Oh!
It's my mom, says Cove. After leaning forward and sitting the phone on the coffee table in front of him, Cove hit the speaker button. Hey, what's up? Chippy is here too, says Cove.
Hi!
Hi, Cove. Hello, Chippy, says Kara. I like that one. Hey, Mom 3. Might as well. I mean, we're pretty much almost married at this point. Yep. Okay. You knew your foreignness was making Cove regret putting it on speaker, but you were all right with that. Cove, baby, I wanted to ask you if you have planned for all your junk, asked Kara. Cove made a small, outraged grumble, giving you a sidelong glance. That's not junk, it's important, says Cove. Says Kyra. Though you couldn't see it, you could tell by the sound of her voice that Kyra was smiling.
Aha!
But that was a yes or no. But was that a yes or no about the plan? Asked Kyra. He looked over at you, his mouth pulled into a tight smile. I'm still thinking about it, Chippy, said Cove. I'm gonna take the phone off speaker so let me and Mom can go over this. It'll be quick, says Cove. Cove carefully moved you off of him and took the phone from the table before pushing himself to his feet. He hit the speaker button again to turn it off and continued the conversation with his mom as he headed towards the door. The lock clicked behind him as he exited the house, and you sank back into the cushions, Ali trying to decide what to do next. After electing to grab your own phone from its charger, you resumed your position on the couch, tapping away at the screen. Your mind drifted away from thoughts of Cove and his phone call, with all the many ways your device could distract you. It was an effective enough way to kill the time, and you had managed to do various little things when the door opened again and Cove returned. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. He gave you a smile as he approached, so you figured the conversation couldn't have gone too bad. You watched as Cove strolled over to where you were still sitting. He crossed his arms against the top corner of the couch, resting on them while bending forward to lightly kiss the top of your head.
Hey!
I'm back, says Cove. Okay, I'm gonna go with the last one. You tilted your head and gave him a small kiss. He met your lips with his, closing his eyes, and then you kiss him longer than the one he had given you just prior. So, good or bad news, I ask. He returned his head suddenly, running a hand through his hair and letting out an exasperated breath. He seemed nervous, but you couldn't imagine why.
Fine.
It's fine. Not anything to worry about, says Cove. Oh, excuse me. You raise your eyebrow at his tone, moving your head to the side and to try and meet his eye. That doesn't explain what's going on, I exclaimed. He struggled, or he shrugged and gave you a tight smile, trying to play whatever it actually was off as unimportant. There's nothing going on, just stuff I can deal with later. Some other time, says Cole. He was transparently avoiding the truth, and you stared back at him seriously, and an indication that you weren't going to ignore what he was doing. Eventually he broke breath, your stare, hanging his head in his hands and groaning. I need to make another trip to my mom's place. There's some stuff out there that I'm going to use, so I'll have to go pick it up, says Cove. It wouldn't make sense to ship it, and I couldn't bring the stuff back with me last time since I flew, says Cove. Oh, I exclaimed. Suddenly you understood what the phone conversation had been about. Cove was going to drive to his mom's house in Nevada. When will you go? I asked. Mom thinks it would be best to do it now while I'm still kind of free, but Cove pouted, giving you an unhappy look, and you could see the prospect has already taken a toll on him. I don't want to. I was just there, and even longer than usual, says Cove. Why do I have to leave right now when it's our last summer like this, says Cove. Let's see. I don't want you to go either. I'd sleep. Isn't there another way to get your stuff? Could she drop it off instead? I ask. I don't think so, says Cove. Looking up again, you met his bright aquamarine eyes, finding a sad smile tugging on his lips.
Oh!
Oh, says Cove. Suddenly his eyebrows jumped and his eyes lit up like a lamp. You can come with me, says Cove. Road trip. What? I ask. You could come with me. I mean, I get that two of us live next door to each other, and my mom lives in another state. My trips there are usually to spend time with her, just the two of us. But this time it won't be like that. All I'm going to do is drive over, stay for a night, and then pack up the car in the morning and turn around again, says Cove. Give me a moment. But this time it won't be like that. All I'm gonna do is drive. Okay, I read this already. Yeah. Okay. Most of the time, we will be spent in the car, so it'll be good to have another person there, says Cove. Plus, you'd have the chance to see my mom again and her place. Maybe we could even find something cool to break out on the way, says Cove. You couldn't stop yourself from laughing at his enthusiasm. He brushed a little reining himself in.
Please?
I just feel like it could be fun. Please, could you think about it? Asked Cove. I'd love to. When do we leave? I ask. I'll have to let my mom's know. But as long as we've got nothing else important on the days we pick, then there's no reason I wouldn't be able to go, says Chippy. He grinned from ear to ear, thrilled by the news. He put both of his hands on your cheeks, kissing your face all over, having to bend down far to do so. But he didn't mind it a bit. Then he wrapped his arms around your neck, letting out a happy sigh.
I'm so glad.
This is so great. I'll call my mom back and let her know right now, says Cove. You spent some time together going over your schedules and making plans for when you could take the trip. You needed to fit it around both your work schedules, which took a bit of doing, but came together in the end. Luckily, it was only a 2-day trip, so finding a couple free days in a row wasn't impossible. It wasn't long before the dates were finally set and the plans were made. You were excited for the trip. A short trip sounded like most perfect way to spend some time. You could listen to music, eat snacks, and enjoy the open road. No matter what you thought about things, the morning when you were due to leave arrived. It was cooler than usual, the sun barely peeking out over the tops of the houses. You stood outside your house on the footpath near the road, waiting for Cove. You were feeling refreshed after a good night's sleep and early wake up. With your travel bag clutched in one hand, you watched as Cove finished packing up his car. He had organized all sorts of things, water bottles, snacks, and who knows what else. Cove insisted he had everything under control and didn't need help. At least you could rest easy knowing that it was all taken care of. As you waited, you glanced over Cove's car. You knew it well. It used to belong to Mr. Holden. And when Cove had learned to drive, it passed to him. His dad had taken the opportunity to get a newer one. It was pretty old at this point, but had served both of them well so far. You just hoped it had enough life left in it to survive a trip as long as what you were embarking on. The slam of a door closing made you jump. You snapped back to focus and saw Cove was walking towards you. He busted his hands off his pants and tilted his head towards the car. "That's it? Ready to go?" asked Cove. "Yeah, I'm ready," I exclaimed. He smiled and stepped aside, giving you space to situate your own bag where you wanted it. Once everything was safely inside, he glanced back at you.
All right.
"We should get started. It's gonna be a ways to go," says Cove. You hugged him. He seemed surprised, but he chuckled and returned a gesture. It couldn't last for long, though. Time was of the essence. The two of you climbed into the car and buckled up, Cove in the driver's seat, and you sitting shotgun. His eyes moved to you.
Thank you.
"Thanks again for coming on this trip with me," says Cove. "Hey, I'm doing this for me too. It'll be fun," I exclaimed. After checking the mirrors and starting the engine, you pulled out of the driveway and the trip began. With a small sigh, you got cozy in your seat and watched the familiar houses in your neighborhood pass by. Cove reached over to turn on the radio. A crackle of static mixed with odd snippets of song filled the car as he flipped through the stations. Mr. Holmes' car was in good condition, but it was well older. There was no way to plug in a phone to play music, so the radio had to do. Eventually he settled on an alternative station before sitting back and resting both hands on the wheel. "Is this okay?" asked Cove. "Yes, you know what I like." "How could I forget?" asked Cove. He smiled happily with the answer. Hey. Hey. Time flew by. With it, the scenery outside your window became more and more unfamiliar. Neither of you spoke for a good long while, but the quiet was uncomfortable. You had become all too used to each other's company over the years. Eventually, Cove broke the silence, cleared his throat. His throat softly before he spoke. It's been too long since you and I have spent time with my mom. I know she still comes to the neighborhood sometimes, but it's not even once a year. I'm always going to hers, says Cove. I'm happy the two of us are doing this, says Cove. Me too, I exclaimed. Itch. But speaking of your mom and trips, remember the time she took us on that crazy drive all across town? I asked. He shook his head at the memory, his laughter clear and bright. Oh, I remember. I kept worrying about papers and shoes while you were having a blast, says Cove. It was an easy night. He smiled quietly to himself, touching the wheel a little more confidently, with a crackling of his eyebrows. A look of nostalgia crossed over Cove's features. Mom always knows how to make things memorable, says Cove. I can't deny that, I exclaimed. Silence slowly crept back into the space. Both of you thinking back on that night and all the memories you had of it. Your eyebrow resting on the windowsill, you gaze out at the world that was slowly coming to life as the morning rolled by. The sun climbed higher in the sky, forcing you to adjust the visor overhead to keep it out of your eyes. Hey, do you mind reaching back for me? Asked Cove. Cove gave you a sidelong glance as he drove diagonally with a nod of his head and a tiny smile. I want some chips. The salt and vinegar ones, says Cove. That's a great flavor.
Right?
Eat whatever you want to. I bought a bunch of everything, says Cove. Stretching out the seatbelt to give yourself space, you twisted in your spot and reached into the bag holding the snacks. It took a bit of effort to sort through the collection of goodies stuffed inside, but eventually the bag of chips crinkled beneath your fingers. Beneath your fingers as you pulled them out and sat back in your seat. Here, I said. Excellent. Thanks. Do you mind opening it? Asked Cove. His eyes lit up as the prospects of the sex, and you shook your head in amusement, popping top of the bag. Want me to feed them to you? His eyes widened, the hint of blush creeping over his cheeks, but he steadfastly continued to face the road. No, that's okay, says Cove. You could just pour a few into my hand. Yeah, sure, I exclaimed. Thanks, says Cove. Cove held out outstretched hand. You did your best to have the chips fall into his palm, but some did end up on the floor. After that, you rode up the top of the bag and stowed the chips safely in the back again. When you turned to the front, it was to find Cove crushing the fistful of chips into his mouth, crunching loudly. He wiped his hand on his pants absentmindedly before gripping the wheel and spilling crumbs all over the place. You're like a little kid. Very messy too. Just saying. We're gonna have to do something about those habits of yours. He snorted and pulled a hand from the wheel once more to flick the salty residue from his fingers at you. Oh, gee, thanks. With a gasp, you raised an arm to defend yourself. You shook your head at the mess of crumbs that fell from his mouth as he chuckled. See what I mean? I asked. hours drifted by much the same way as that with the two of you, snacking and chatting as the day stretched on. It was fairly calm and quiet, driving along the open road, and you found little in the way of interruptions. At one point you passed a "Welcome to Nevada" sign, and Cove gave a tiny cheer. He was in disbelief that the two of you were seriously all the way in another state like this. That didn't consist of chips and candy. After refueling the car and your stomachs, the drive was back on, just as the sun began dipping beneath the horizon and bathing the sky in a wash of orange light. Cove informed you that there wasn't too much longer left to go. You were almost there. When night eventually fell in a blanket of darkness, the drive finally came to an end. Cove pulled into the parking lot of Kara's apartment building. The glow of the car lights disappearing as he turned off the engine and let out a heavy sigh.
Huh.
"We made it. We're here," says Cove. The two of you exchanged tired smiles, having successfully and safely completed one half of the trip. You were relieved to have actually arrived, and eager to get out of the car and stretch your legs. You took the stairs up to the building together. After a knock, you were abruptly met by a flash of green hair as Kara opened the door and immediately took her son in her arms.
Cove!
"There he is, my gigantic baby boy," says Kara. She squeezed him for a moment, then pulled back so she could examine his face. You are even taller than the last time I saw you," says Kara. Cove gave her a fun look as she patted the tops of his shoulders proudly. "You saw that every time I'm here. You say that every time I'm here. It doesn't even make sense right now. My last visit wasn't that long ago," says Cove. Kara simply laughed before letting him go fully and ushered the two of you into her apartment. Then she turned to you, wide grin pulling on her lips. "Chippy, it's so nice you came along with. And as a bonus, you both arrived in one piece," says Kara. "It's good to see you, Kara. It's been too long," I exclaimed. Kara beamed at you both, and while you would have loved to nothing more than to settle down and rest after the drive, you could see she wasn't going to let you go that easy.
So?
"So how was the trip?" I admit I was just a pinch worried, says Kara. You let Cove answer that. It was fine. No problems for us, says Cove. Kara clapped her hands together, the bracelets around her wrists jiggling. I'm so proud. I can hardly believe how mature you both are. Where did all those smarts come from? Asked Kara. Cove ran a hand over his hair with an awkward chuckle.
I don't know.
Maybe I got some from my parents, says Cove. His mom looked up at him deeply, her eyes glistening as she shook the sentimentality off with the wave of her hand.
Any whoosies?
I need a moment. I'll be right back. Have to be half asleep already, Cove. I don't want to keep you up much longer. Early morning and any newsies, says Kara. How do you want to deal with the sleeping arrangements? I've only got my own room and Cove's. Though the living room couch isn't too bad, says Kara. Oh, excuse me. Chippy can use my bed. I'll sleep on the floor in the room. It doesn't matter for one night, says Cove. Kara laughed out loud, startling you both. You raised an eyebrow at her outburst, giving her a quizzical look. Oh yeah. You'll just stay on the floor. You couldn't handle that much back when you were 13, with both your parents in the room, says Kara. Cove blushed a dark red gasp, completely unprepared for her to pull out that embarrassing moment from the past. Her laughter continued, unbattered. Unabated. Yeah, okay. You're going to be driving tomorrow. Do you really want to risk another potential head injury? Asked Kara.
Hey! Hey!
Mom, says Cove. Okay. I'm gonna go with the last one. You put a hand on Cove's arm to show support. Yeah. He gave you a grateful smile, and Kara cooed at the two of you.
Hey! Hey!
Mom, says Cove. She finally let it drop, and you tried to move on. Thank you for letting me have the bed. I exclaimed. Cove offered a small smile.
Don't worry about it.
No problem, says Cove. So, would you be okay with me sleeping on the floor in the room? I'd rather be there than out in the open in the living room, even if there is the couch, says Cove. Yeah, you can sleep there. Kara giggled softly, drawing your attention back to her. All funny stuff aside, you need to get some sleep for tomorrow. Seems like you're setting yourselves up to not get any, says Kara. I know that sounds really captious, but I'm a mom, and I have to say these things, says Kara. Come on, we're not little kids having a sleepover. We're responsible adults, right, Chippy? Cove asked. Yes, we're very responsible. She gave the two of you a suspicious look, and you stood up straighter, trying to prove your point. Excuse me. I'll leave it at that then, for now. Just remember, the walls are thin in this apartment. If you can't settle down and sleep, I might have to separate you. Oh, says Kara. Oh boy. She knows. She knows. Well, we'll be good, says Cove.
Marvelous.
Perfect, says Kara. Kara clasped her hands together, her braces softly tinkling against each other again. It's only getting later, so I better let you prepare for bed, says Kara. She nodded towards the hallway and gave you a small smile. I'll play hostess for a sec and show you where the bathroom is first. Chippy and you'll be staying, and where you will be staying tonight, says Kara. Thank you, I exclaimed. You hoisted your travel bag back over your shoulder and followed behind Kara and down the hallway. Cove shuffled along behind you, disappearing into the bedroom while his mom had you go to the restroom. The apartment was small but nicely decorated in soft cool colors, with plenty of artwork hanging on the walls to give it character. It was stylish and exactly what you would have expected from someone like Kara. After being shown and wishing Kara a good night, you headed into the room and found Cove already there. He had changed into his sleepwear for night as well. Looking around, you found the bedroom to look much the same as the rest of the apartment, but with the small ocean elements. You were sure Cove must have enjoyed well when he stayed here. All in the room was plenty and clean, though it almost looked more like a hotel guest room than a bedroom. Cove only spent a few weeks out of the year there, so it made sense that it wasn't especially lived in.
So?
What do you think? It's pretty nice, huh? Mom always keeps it clean and everything, even when I'm not here, says Cove. It's a great room. Cool, I'm glad you like it, says Cove. He seemed pleased enough with the response, and he gave a small smile before opening the zip on his bag. When you went back to the room, You jumped in bed and under the covers, just as Cove was shuffling into his sleeping bag on the floor. You waited until he was settled in before you flipped off the lights, and a soft glow from outside peeked through the blinds, casting shadows over the floor. You closed your eyes, blocking everything out.
Night.
Night, Chippy, says Cove. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bugs bite, I exclaimed. The room grew quiet as the two of you wound down for the night, and you found yourself listening to the sounds of the city outside the window. The noise out there was different to what you were used to back home. Cars zooming past and people out having fun instead of crashing waves and the ocean winds cocooning your house in their embrace. Cove shifted around in his sleeping bag, making the fabric crinkle loudly. I've outgrown this thing. I should have checked it earlier, but the trip was kind of short-nosed, says Cove. Are you sure you don't want the bed? I asked. I don't mind trading places, I exclaimed. No, it's alright, says Cove. It's more important that you're comfortable, says Cove.
Don't worry about it.
You're already doing me a big favor by coming here in the first place. Just let me do this one thing and give you the bed, says Cove. That's what I want for this trip. Okay, asked Cove. Pursing your lips tight, you gave a small nod and admitted defeat. Alright. I'll have the bed, thanks, Cove, I exclaimed. He made a small noise, but said no more. With accepting the sigh, you pulled the covers up under your chin and got comfortable. The next day dawned, bringing it with the sounds of birds chirping happily outside the window. You opened your eyes, slowly letting them adjust to the light, as you tried to recall where you were, and remembering the unfamiliar sight of Cove's second bedroom. Cove had nudged you awake. Rise and shine, Chippy, says Cove. Cove shook your shoulder and you groaned dramatically and buried your head beneath your pillow. 5 more minutes, I exclaimed.
No way.
got to get started, says Cove. Sitting up in bed, you let out a yawn and stretch your arms above your head. You still felt groggy. You were used to sleeping in longer than this, and the late night hadn't helped. Morning, I exclaimed. Two of you were completely different wavelengths. We're completely on different wavelengths right now. You pulled yourself out of bed, grabbing a fresh change of clothes and your toiletries before heading to the bathroom. After all that, you met Cove back in his room. He was sitting on the floor when you entered, sorting through a bunch of stuff in a box, determining what to bring and what to leave behind. Hey, I exclaimed.
Hey! Hey!
Can you pull out the stuff in those drawers? Asked Cove. You nodded through, though hadn't looked up from his task, so you knew he wouldn't have seen. Heading over to the drawers, you started the task of taking out various items and setting them on the ground in front of Cove. Oh, hey, look at this, says Cove. When you turned towards the sound of Cove's voice, you found him digging through one of the drawers beneath the bed.
Neat! Neat!
Here's something I definitely need to bring. Neat, says Cove. Craning your hand, you got a better glimpse of what he was holding. An old yellowing book. When he opened it up, there was a few dried pressed flowers between the pages. These had been gifts you'd given him for his mom's place. Something for him to remember you by, to make his time here less lonely. He kept them the whole time. It's adorable that you care so much for them. He sighed, glancing between you and the items in his hands. They bring back some good memories, says Cove. A faint flush of color crept over his cheeks, and he looked away quietly.
It's nice. It's nice.
These are special. It was important having a piece of you with me when we were apart, says Cove. I feel the same way. That's why I give them to you, I exclaimed. Cole smiled, pleased that the feeling was mutual, but then the expression became more amused. And did you keep the souvenirs I bought you back? Asked Cove. Of course. His grin grew to completion. Thanks, says Cove. Another hour passed by in silence, and you were happy to see you were making great progress with Cove's room, with only the closest left to sort through. Oh, only the closet to left to sort through. You took a minute to take a mouthful of water from your bottle and perched on the edge of the bed, feeling productive. Cove glanced over at you and paused, putting down the tape gun he had been using to seal up his boxes. You raised an eyebrow. You know, it's really strange to see you sitting in this room, says Cove. Why? I ask. He frowned a little, his eyes distant and his voice quiet when he spoke next.
That's...
During the visit to Mom's, when I was sitting alone in this room, I'd sometimes think about how you weren't here, says Cove. It was a weird feeling at the time that you weren't around. And now that you're here in this exact place, I don't know how to explain the feelings, says Cove. He shrugged it off and smiled a little, as though he'd said enough already and didn't want to risk sounding silly. Life is pretty confusing, is all, says Cove. Yeah. I missed you so much when you were gone. His brows crinkled as he looked at you solemnly, his eyes bright with emotion. I missed you too, all the time, says Cove. It made you feel better to know that when you were stuck at home, missing his company, that he was missing yours too. And the last of the items to be sorted. Before long, every box, closet, and drawer had been thoroughly combed through, with the items either nestily packed up in boxes or organized and returned to their proper place. With a sigh of relief, you glance around the bedroom and work you had done together. Oy, excuse me.
All right.
We're done. Good job to us. I'm gonna change out of my PJs for the drive, says Cove. Yeah, I exclaimed. When the two of you headed out into the living room, ready to get everything finalized and hit the road, you found Kyra in the kitchen pouring a cup of tea. Cove headed towards her, leaning casually against the counter that divided the two spaces. Hey, you didn't have to get up so early, says Cove.
Come on.
Are you crazy? Of course I have to see you off before you go. You can't sneak away while I'm out cold, says Kyra. She beamed at him and in all honesty seemed more than happy to be up and getting ready for the day. Oh, do you want some breakfast? I've got some mousseline or eggs and toast. Oh, and some of that fruity cereal you used to love, says Kyra. That's okay. We should really eat on the road, says Cove. Kyra smiled sadly, a little disappointed, but she seemed to understand that her time was running thin. I thought you might say that, in case I've packed you some snacks for the road, says Kyra.
What do you think?
Even if you don't end up eating them, take it anyway, just in case. You can always feed them to Cliff when you get home. And tell him I said hi, says Kyra. Cove laughed and shook his head, knowing his dad would love nothing more than to polish off whatever food Kyra had prepared for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom. You really didn't have to, says Cove. Okay. Thank you for the snacks, I exclaimed. I'm sure they'll come in handy with this guy around, I exclaimed. Cove scuffed and playfully rolled his eyes, earning a giggle from Kyra. I don't doubt it. Like father, like son, says Kyra. She returned your smile with one of her own, before putting her cup of tea aside. Well, I'll help you get the car packed, says Kyra.
Sure.
Sure, thanks, says Cove. The three of you got a move on, taking the boxes from Cove's bedroom and heading down to fill the back seat of the car until there was barely an inch of space left in the back and trunk. With all of you helping, it only took a couple of trips to move everything, and you were done before you knew it. Then it was truly time to say goodbye. You convey. You convened back inside the apartment where Kara looked over the two of you with a quiet smile. It was great to see you both. Thank you for coming, says Kara. She gave each of you a hug, and you felt a little sad that you hadn't been able to spend more time with her. It was good to see you, too, Mom, says Cove. Cove embraced her in return, the two of them holding onto each other for a few seconds longer. I'll miss you, but I'll visit again soon, says Cove.
Of course. Of course.
You better, says Kara. Hey, we should make plans for you to visit us too. I'll let you know when it's settled, says Cove. I love that, says Kara. Kara bundled all the stuff she prepared into a bag and headed them over to you. You took a quick peek at what she had packed. There was fruit, nuts, seeds, hard-boiled eggs, and some veggie sticks.
Cool.
Oh, good. To see you got some fresh food options now. The snacks I brought weren't, says Cove. Kara shook her head at him and let out a soft laugh, as though she wouldn't have expected anything else. I seriously hope you're feeding yourself better than that at home, says Kara. Yeah, of course. Just not on trips, says Cove. I can live with that, then, says Kara. She looked over at him fondly with her eyes, at least focusing on his face and filling with emotion. I'm going to miss you, baby, says Kara.
Me too,
says Cove. We'll all be together again before you know it, I exclaimed. I hope so, says Kara. Kara put out an arm around you both, pulling you in tight to her sides for one final squeeze.
Bye. Bye.
Have a safe trip, says Kara. We will, says Cove. With that last goodbye, you exited the apartment, though Cove hesitated for a moment in the door, his expression distant. You weren't sure what he was doing, though you intently took a step towards him. Everything okay? I asked. Your voice seemed to bring him back to earth, and he shook his head to clear his thoughts, his green hair swaying from side to side.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go, says Cove. With that, the two of you headed back to the car, ready to make the long trip home. Soon enough, you are on wide open road with a car full of Cove's things, and only one destination, Sunset Bird, California. The drive went smoothly as you could expect it, with the morning slowly creeping into midday as the miles flew by. The day flew by in a whirl of open road. And sunshine, and before you knew it, it was early afternoon. By that point, you had barely crossed the state line. Cove announced that he planned a little stop on the way home. He was quite pleased with himself as you arrived at the precipice. Excuse me. Yeah. The Redwood National Park. Shaded beneath a canopy of enormous redwood trees, you drove along. When Cove parked the car, you pushed the door to get out, and the first thing you did was look up. Enormous red trees surrounded you on all sides, their massive trunks shooting straight up into the canopy of foliage overhead. There were too many of them to count, stretching on and on as far as you could see. You squinted against the sunlight that was peeking through the leaves and dancing on the paths around you. It's great, right? asked Cove. He smiled at you from over the roof of the car before glancing around the place fondly. Remember the trip our families took here that summer? asked Cove. It was cool going on a journey and seeing the forest in person, even if we didn't stay very long, says Cove.
So.
And I guess we stay for even less this time. But oh well, says Cove. It just seemed like a good time to stop by. Who knows when we'll get another chance, asked Cove. His voice got a little softer at the end. It seemed to be bittersweet for him, being in a place he was fond of, but not having the time to appreciate it fully. You were pleased to have stopped there. It was a beautiful place to stretch your legs and take in some fresh air. Let's see. There'll be more chances in the future, I promise, I exclaimed. Cole smiled, shoving his hands in his pocket and dropping his head. I'm gonna hold you to that, says Cove. The two of you walked around for a while, completely dwarfed by the sheer scale of the redwoods. It kind of put your view of yourself and everything in a strange perspective. You took in a lungful of clean forest air, listening to the sounds of birdsong. And the cool breeze rustling through the underbrush, taking advantage of the space to move around freely. However you felt about being there, it was totally different scene than sitting in front of an old car for hours and hours. You wrapped your arm around Cove. Oh man, skipped it. Oops. He relaxed into your touch and smiled at you, fondly, enjoying the closeness. Being here again, you couldn't help but reminisce on what else had happened during the trip you had taken here all that time ago. There were a lot of things that had reminded you of it recently. You looked over at Cove, who seemed to be lost in the peace of the place, and you wondered if any of it crossed his mind. Smiling at the sight, you thought back on what had been a highlight of that long gone vacation. You know, we almost kissed on that RV trip. Do you remember that? Asked Chippy. I asked. Cole snorted and covered his mouth with a hand, but you could still see a flush of pink on the tip of his nose. Yeah, I remember. Almost gave myself a concussion. It's still probably in the top 10 most humiliating things I've ever done, says Cove. You chuckled at the memory and how your parents had caught the two of you in the loft together after that. I'm sorry about that, by the way, says Iceland.
Don't worry about it.
Don't be. It was kind of funny, says Cove. You continued chatting about the trip a little longer, about the things you had seen and done and even eaten. A lot of memories Cove had of the trip were similar to your own. But you were also surprised to hear of a few of other things from his point of view. So much had happened that there was no shortage of things to talk about. The place certainly had a nostalgic quality about it. Your spirits were light as you ambled past information boards and picnic areas. But before long you decided it was time to bring this short stop to an end and head back to the car to get on the road again. Cove sighed when you finally reached the vehicle, jingling the keys in his hand before unlocking the doors.
Well,
I wish we didn't have to go, but we're going to be responsible and not stay longer than we should, says Cove. How grown up of you, I exclaimed. He smiled slightly, and with that, the two of you jumped into the car, buckled in, and he put it in drive. You were getting closer and closer to town, and the sun started setting, though we're still far enough away that the radio stations were unfamiliar to you. This is actually a beautiful picture of him driving. Cove twisted the dial this way and that before stumbling onto a channel with a song that he seemed to like. That was a rare gift from the fates in the sea, static, strange radio jockeys and granting tunes. His face immediately brightened at the sound of it. He seemed drummed his fingers along the button of the steering wheel happily. Sitting back in his seat, he bopped his head and shimmied his shoulders in time to the tune, all while melting along to the words. Occasionally he even lifted one hand from the wheel to gesture with his fingers for a specific line. You sing along. Cove raised a pleased eyebrow at your vocalization. Emboldened by you, Cove decided to speak the words rather than lip syncing. Your voices mixed together, slowly creeping louder and louder as you belted out the words to the song. Every now and then a word would be sung wrong, and by the end you were both laughing too much to continue. The song ended, and Cove reached over to start cycling through the radio stations again. Upon finding nothing tolerable, he flipped the dial off in defeat and leaned back in his seat with a sigh. You rested your head on your hand and stared out the window as the sky darkened, watching the landscapes slowly melt into more familiar views. The miles went on, and any energy you had earlier was beginning to drain away. You imagined home and your family, you'd be there together soon. You know, I've spent all these years living in Sunset Bird and taking a few weeks each summer visiting my mom in that second room, says Cove. That's not going to happen anymore. Not really, says Cove.
I mean,
I can still see my parents, but the way it all works between us has changed forever, says Cove. He paused, the silence stretching. A serious look settled on his face, his thoughts far away. I feel the same about my parents too. I know they'll always be there for me, but we don't really have the same relationship we used to, I exclaimed. Cole's mouth pulled into a tight line, and he gave a small nod. You got the feeling that he understood how you felt. Cove stared straight ahead down the long road. The path looked like it never ended from where you were, but that wasn't true. Eventually he found a few more words to say.
I'm so glad.
I think it's good we're able to do this trip without any parents or chaperones. It was just us. We did it all, says Cove. I don't know. I feel a little more independent now. A little more ready for what's ahead, says Cove. Right, I exclaimed. It's like a real first step to be on our own all the time. It'll be here before we know it, I exclaimed. The topic seemed to wear on Cove, and he made an attempt to find something else to speak on. Oh, so I'm kind of sad about getting back. I'm gonna miss having you right there tonight, says Cove. He cleared his throat quietly, though said nothing more. Smile to yourself a little at hearing him say something like that out loud. I'm gonna miss it too, I exclaimed. And with the feelings confirmed as mutual, the two of you fell into a comfortable silence. The sky outside grew darker as the hours passed by, the stars blinking on like tiny fireflies painted into the canvas of blue. The scenery continued transitioning through open roads, industrial areas, and beach towns, becoming increasingly recognizable as time went on. You felt somewhat disconnected from the world around you as you watched it through your window. You tried to mind your tired mind growing hazy. It was a strange, reflective feeling, but peaceful nonetheless. Soon enough, the world would return to you, and you'd find your feet firmly on the ground. It couldn't be helped. The adventure would end. Life could continue, but your memories would linger on. And that's it. Our next moment will be in the submarine, and then after this, I'm going to go back. Like I said, I'm going to go back to step 1 and do the DLCs for that, because when I first started doing the read-throughs on this, I didn't have it set, the DLCs set right like they should have been, because I had gotten the DLCs from a different site and it didn't load on to the game correctly like they were supposed to, and so I had to go through Steam games and get the game through that and get the DLCs through Steam, and they finally loaded on there correctly. So yeah, and yeah, when the other stuff comes out, I'll definitely do it through Steam. I definitely recommend doing it through Steam. If you're gonna do this game, you're gonna get this game, you're gonna get the DLCs, I totally recommend you getting Steam. Load it to your computer, get it to your computer, and then set up an account, and then get it through Steam, because it works so much better than the actual site that this game comes on. So with that, I want to thank you for watching on my YouTube channel again. Don't forget to click the like button and click the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And if you can, please go to my Patreon account and become a Patreon contributor. Remember, you still have until April 8th if you want to become a VIP contributor and get a free sticker or a free button pin for thanking that's my way of thanking you for becoming a VIP contributor. But it's for a limited time, and you still have until like April 8th. After that, it will not be available, unfortunately. Sorry about that. So you got time. You still need to get on to it if you're going to do that. I would totally recommend doing that. I may do the I may do that special later on. It depends on the situation. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, thanks again, and I will see you guys later.